and gentlemen, my name is Miss Anime, and this is the fourth week, I believe, fourth week. This is Miss Anime seasonal roundup. Basically, what I do is I go through all the shows that. No, not seasonal roundup. I'm sorry. This is Miss Anime seasonal podcast because it's a podcast now. And basically, what I do is I just go through all the shows I'm watching, and I give you my comments and my feedback and what I like and what I don't like. You know, I've been doing this for about a year now, so I'm pretty sure most of you who are watching, which is surprisingly few at this point, but you guys know the drill, so we might as well just get into the bag. I have my baggie here of all the stuff I'm watching. I'm actually wide awake right now because I had a nap earlier because I had a really early shift at work this morning, so I got home at like 4 and I took a long nap, so I'm wide awake and I'm raring to go with this, so let's just get started. Okay, pulling the first name, and it's Greatest Demon Lord Reborn as a Nobody. It's basically him just taking down the lizard woman. And the only thing of note in this episode is that she's just like, oh, you know, the main character, the girl character with the Irina, that's her name, because I just kind of know her as the girl character with the big tits, because that's usually how it works with these shows. There's the main character who's badass, and then his cute childhood friend who's like really busty, and then there's her friend who's also usually really busty. But basically the villain lady is like, oh, you know, she has evil blood in her, and I'm like, okay, you know. I do like the idea of the pink one whose name I now can't remember because this show is not that memorable, but I like the idea of her having an arc where basically she has to get stronger and she has to go out of her way to prove to all the characters that she's not a weakling. I kind of like that. I kind of wish that was the focal point instead of like, oh, the busty female lead, you know, she's royalty. Okay. It's basically sunk cost fallacy at this point. I don't hate it, but it's just a generic one of these shows, and it's clearly trying to be Misfit of Demon King Academy. Like, there's no way this show is not trying to be that show. But the difference is, difference with that show is that the plot is just slightly more memorable, and you have a character who's kind of not quite a villain. I don't think Kanan is supposed to be a villain per se, but you know, he's an interesting foil to the other foil to Anus and whatever he's doing. So I don't know if we're gonna introduce that character. I probably doubt it, but this show is that's the only thing of note in this show is that the white-haired one has evil blood in here. I highly doubt that's going to be relevant again, but anyway. Build, Divide, Code, White. So, what I find really interesting about this is that not only are they having to, you know, fight these people, but as I said last week, the control over the orange one, what's his name? I don't remember their names, but the control over it doesn't go away, which I thought was very interesting because mostly, you know, with mind control episodes, like I said, you just get hit in the face and bam, it's done. And bam, they're fine. But no, they're still being enslaved, which I found really interesting, and I am still thoroughly convinced that the person we saw was Teruto. I'm convinced that the person in the you know, math kid was either him or Sakura. But the thing about this show is that it hasn't made a lot of progress yet. We're like 5 episodes in, and we know that it has made some progress, but it hasn't made as much progress as I would have liked it to. I want them to kind of get to the point already, but we'll see in future episodes how fast this goes, because I'm starting to get slightly bored, but then again, we're only halfway through, so who knows. Pulling the next name out of the bag. What is it? Shield Hero 2. I have to admit, I like Kyo as a villain. If you guys know, I really like psycho man-child villains. Like I want, like, if you've ever seen Code Realize or Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 or Children of the Whales, I like that kind of villain. I like those psycho, you know, usually they're a little bit younger. Usually in shows, I like the villains. If I just said I like it like I'm younger, that would sound really creepy. But I like the villains in that category usually to be a little bit younger. But Kyo works. He's an interesting, you know, his psychopathy is very interesting. But honestly, at this point, I'm just kind of annoyed because I wish they'd just kill the turtle and get back to the waves, because Lark shows up and then he just leaves. And I'm sitting there thinking, so they're not actually going to do anything with them, you know? Yeah, Naofumi refuses to form a truce with him, and I'm like, okay, well then what was the point? Other than to establish, I guess, that they're still here and that they're still trying to hunt for the turtle, I guess. But it's just a wasted plot point, in my opinion, personally. I think Kyo is probably the most thing of note at this point, and he just basically flat out establishes everything I've been saying. Yeah, we know Ost is the basically is the turtle, and I went into this episode thinking, so they're gonna have to kill her, because if they don't kill her, the turtle's not gonna die. I already knew that, but thank you, show, for spelling it out for me. Thank you, show, for just flat out telling the characters, who apparently were too stupid to figure out that after like the third time they're trying to kill this thing, one of them didn't say, wait, she's still alive and the turtle's still alive, so wouldn't that mean we have to kill her in order to kill the... But I'm surprised nobody in Naofumi's party figured that out. But I look forward to Kyo in the future and whatever he's going on. Other than that, not much of note left over from this week, so I'm just going to move on to the next one. And the next one is Mahoutsukai Rimiki. I'm so pissed off with this show because it was doing good. It was getting to the point where something interesting was happening. And then they're like, oh, no, actually this was a test. Wait, what do you mean it was a test? Oh, it was a test to see if you were mages. So all that bullshit about the witches and the last 2 or 3 episodes have been a fucking waste of time. Are you serious? Like, seriously, why? Like, are they gonna have something for this show to do? Because so far nothing has really happened in the show. Oh, you just basically told the audience that none of what they're watching was real. So I don't understand, you know, what their plan is with this show, and I'm getting really annoyed. And I was so close to hoping that Los, I don't know how to pronounce, because they keep changing how they pronounce her name. I don't really care. I was so hoping she'd go away. Like, I was really hoping that she'd leave and then she'd have to leave them to fend for herself. But no, she's still here, unfortunately. They've toned her down slightly, which I'm very appreciative of. But at this point, I just kind of feel like they just get rid of her and let them be their own characters. But we'll see. We'll see if this show actually, you know, goes anywhere, or if I just have to drop this episode after a few... I want them to do something with the main character and whatever he is. I want them to figure out what his... I still say he's a witch. I still say that's, you know, why he has all this power. But anyway, moving on. Virgin Road. I genuinely want to know what is going on with this show, because they defeated the villain, and the girl is like, she can put herself into other people's bodies or give people powers. Like, I genuinely don't know what happened with Momo. I don't know if she gave her power or she put her person. I don't get that. What did she do? Like, can somebody please tell me what she did? because I literally don't know, and that's what really irritates me, is the show is doing okay, and then suddenly, you know, this girl, she does something to Mama, and then the dragon blows up, and then she ends up and I'm so confused at this point, and I'm like, and not only that, they beat their villain, so is it gonna be that she sends Menno back in time to kill her, or is she gonna introduce a new villain? I don't, because the show has basically stalled itself. The show has basically, you know, played all its trump cards, and we're not even halfway through the show. It really irritates me, because I was kind of starting to like this show, but now I'm sitting here going, this show has nothing left, so it's gonna have to pull something out of its ass. Otherwise, you know, maybe it's gonna go back and revive that kid. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know with this show. So we're moving on to the next thing, because summertime rendering, I'm mixed at this point. On one hand, I don't like the fact that they played their trump card so early. On the other thing, I think they're doing a good job of playing the shadows as just completely creepy and like unhinged, and it's really unsettling to see. You know, it's unsettling, and I have to point out that when I went into the show, I immediately assumed that Shin was a shadow. Like the whole time, you know, this was actually not Shin. I was wrong. I was dead wrong, but I actually appreciate that, because I appreciate that the show, you know, is playing with my expectations and keeping me guessing. So it's not a bad show. I just, you know, I'm sitting in the back of my head going, why didn't you do this in the second half? But it's so unsettling to see, you know, him talking, and he's so creepy, and it's, you know, and now we get the sense that there's a higher power that's kind of, you know, playing this whole thing out, and I'm really genuinely curious to know, you know, if the Uchiha we're seeing is actually the physical one, and the person who was killed was the shadow. Like, what happens when the shadow dies? Does the person die? Do the people disappear? Also, I think another nice touch is that when the shadow destroys something, it just disappears. Like, it's just not there anymore. I kind of like that. I kind of want them to do, I do want them to pick an angle, though, because I don't like the idea of them trying to stuff both into the series, but we'll see how this plays out, because and the girl shows up at the end, so clearly, you know, she knows something. She hasn't been given a name yet, I don't think. Or maybe she hasn't, I just haven't introduced. So clearly she knows more than she's letting on, because she shows up with a shotgun. So obviously she knows what's going on, and I am genuinely looking forward to diving more into this show. But anyway, we are moving on at this point. Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush. At this point, I am only watching the show for Manabu, because as I stated earlier, he reminds me tremendously of my favorite DC character. I know that's a stupid reason to watch a show, but his shtick is just really, really entertaining, and he's the only character who comes across as likable. They are starting to kind of introduce a plot, but I don't really care at this point, and I'm curious to see if he duels, because we haven't seen him duel yet, and, you know, so, I might stop with this show, because I don't love it. I don't find it extremely interesting, and saying that Manabu is the best thing in the show week after week it's going to get really boring for you guys, so I might, after a little while, just stop doing this show because of that, but we'll see in the future, you know, if they actually manage to pull a plot, because the character shows up at the end, and I'm just kind of sitting here thinking, so this is gonna be, you know, he's gonna do something. I don't know, though. Next show. Okay. Spy Family. what really interests me about this is that is that this was just really cute, and I love the idea that he just basically Lloyd just basically ropes everybody into entertaining his daughter. It's so adorable to watch all these grown people putting on a show for a little girl. It's so precious. I knew she was gonna get but into the academy, but that's basically not the meat of the episode. The meat of the episode is just them putting on this, fantastical, overdrawn out spy drama for this child, and it's so cute. Oh, cute. And also the fact that his friend just kind of walks into his house, and apparently everybody's just acquainted with him. I still want to meet Yor's brother, though, because, again, a character called Yuri played by Ken Jeong. I'm sorry, I can't get over. I know it's not intentional. I just find that really, really, really funny. Especially since this character is apparently not a villain. Next is... I'm quitting heroing. It's just basically more of the same shit. It's them, Actually, I think I watched this show this week. I've been kind of on and off with this show because it doesn't really do anything for me. But, I'm gonna move on because I'm pretty sure at this point I'm just not doing anything with this show. Date A Live 4. So, basically, I was waiting for the show to do another fantasy because last season because in the previous season we basically got, them turning into kids. So it's pretty clear that, Westcott can do a lot of really creative stuff with trapping them in a fantasy where it's weird. It's very weird, but it's kind of in keeping with what Date A Live is. It's basically a fantasy show about a guy trying to date a bunch of girls. So I can kind of understand that. Also, I find it really funny that the show didn't make any jokes about Origami being a guy because clearly, if she's being called the Emperor, I would have thought that she was being cast as a boy. That's basically it for that show. It's a fantasy. I do like. I kind of wish that when they got to the point of the other Shido showing up, the first one was like, no, I got to deal with this because I want to show my friends or my harem basically that I am strong and that I think using a second one was a cop out, but other than that, it's more of them just dicking around. It's cute, but it's not extremely substantial. I love, however, the subplot of the people trying to invade Ratatoskr, and one of the guys gets pissed off that they decapitated his doll and just charges them full force. It reminds me of that scene from Space. I love Spaceballs. Is such a great movie. It reminds me of that scene where the guy shoots her hair and she just goes ballistic, and she just goes ballistic on him because he shot at her hair. It's so cute, and I didn't realize that the I forget his name, the blonde one. I didn't realize he was so athletic. That's really interesting. But I forgot to start this episode with not Date A Live, with what's it called? Oh God. No, Dance Dance Censure. I forgot to start this episode with Dance Dance Censure, and I'm sorry about that. Basically the conceit of this show was just Shinhei and Luo, taking out their frustrations on the other, and they're kind of using dance as an outlet to basically get out all their issues with each other, and I really like that. And the audience basically thinks that it's real. The audience thinks that when they're going at each other, it's part of the show, which I think is really, really interesting, especially considering they don't understand that, and that this could have ramifications for Junpei down the line, because this is not extremely professional. So I also like the image of, I also like the fact that his friends, the two who have been picking on him so much, they basically show up to his performance. So it's clear at some point that they're gonna change their mind, and they're gonna be like, it's not as bad as we thought. Or the girl is gonna get pissed off at the other guy and be like, look, he enjoys this, you need to let it go. Because they're there and they're clearly enjoying themselves, which I think is a very interesting twist. I also like the idea of Luo's darker, broody, I forget his name, Rothbard, and the Odette being played by a guy. So it's basically the darker versus the lighter, which I think is a very, very great motif for this show. I'm also interested to know the reasons why Luo is so adamant that he doesn't want to dance with Junpei. I think it's just because he views Junpei as not taking it seriously, because Luo's basically devoted his whole life to this. He's basically, he goes out of his way to do whatever he has to. He shows up on time, he works hard, and he's just off in the corner doing nothing, mouthing off to the teacher. Sorry, he just wanders around and dances wherever. So I think that's probably the issue. And I think Junpei sees him, as being basically a shut-in who is not having fun with it, and this is gonna make for some great character drama down the line. I'm also surprised at how lax the teacher is, because you'd think that when this happened that she would have just walked out on stage and just dragged Junpei off, but I guess she can't do that because they're in the middle of a performance. So the only thing she can do is, at one point she tells the little kids, go and cover them and make sure that he's okay. But that should be an interesting argument for later, when she basically tells Junpei off for losing it. I think she's gonna do that. Either she's gonna tell him off, or she's gonna make them dance together more, which would also be very interesting. But that is it for this week. If you guys like this content, I also have a gaming channel called Miss Media Gaming, where I do basically any video game. So far, it only has one thing on it, but that's just because I haven't posted any of my other gaming sessions. I also have a podcast called The Media Pit, where I go over all the movies and media I'm watching every month. It's mostly movies. I might end up cutting out the cartoon bits, because mostly I want to focus on movies. I don't know yet. I also still have the anime pick coming out, but I haven't picked a show for that yet, because I'm having a lot of difficulty picking a show and what show I want to do for it. But you guys can look forward to that. And my name is Miss Anime, and I will see you again next week.